Leadership, a simple concept that moves the world, writes history, and drives the lives of millions of people around the world. This is a story that celebrates our leadership and makes us proud of who we are. Today, Latino Leaders Magazine crosses the path of the same leaders we've been interviewing for more than 18 years, making all of us that work at Latino Leaders Magazine proud of our past and excited about our future. Latino Leaders Magazine is confident that we will continue to inspire the leaders that will write the future pages of our history. We have witnessed the enormous potential and value of Latino leaders. Now, Latino Leaders Magazine wants to continue to serve them by connecting these leaders and thus inspiring the future.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host and publisher of Latino Leaders Magazine, Mr. Jorge Ferraiz.
Hello, I'm Jorge Ferraiz, publisher of Latino Leaders Magazine, and it is my privilege to welcome you all to the 2022 Chicago Maestro Awards. This year, we have 4 fantastic stories, all of them inspirational, and a good motivating reason to keep doing what we are doing and inspire others to become leaders as well. The Maestro Award is the highest recognition that Latino leaders has to inspire the mission of the leaders. I want to thank our sponsors, St. Augustine College, Southwest Airlines, and JP Morgan Chase. These institutions are key support for Latino leaders to keep identifying and recognizing the leaders like the ones we are awarding tonight. Welcome again to the Chicago Maestros 2022.
At Southwest Airlines, it's always been about heart. It's about loving people, about putting others first. It's about building resilience through connections that last. Because distance shouldn't keep us from being neighbors. It's about living responsibly and doing things the Southwest way. We believe the act of connecting starts with heart.
Jorge, thank you for bringing us together this evening. You and your team connect leaders and inspire others through your publications and events. And to this year's award recipients, congratulations. Tonight, we celebrate you and your service to our communities and your many accomplishments. I'm Laura Nieto, and I serve as Director of Community Outreach at Southwest Airlines. At Southwest, we believe in loving people, building resilience, and living responsibly. We do that by partnering with organizations across the country to drive economic, environmental, and social impact. Through our longstanding partnership with Latino Leaders Magazine, we've been able to see firsthand how the power of celebrating Latino success stories can inspire the next generation of leaders. Tonight, I'm honored to recognize Mr. Demetrio Garcia, a native of Chicago who has 30 years of national and international experience in engineering, operations, planning, business development, government relations, and diversity leadership. Mr. Garcia is currently a partner and vice president of global business development for Golden Hill Foods, a national supplier of specialty food ingredients. In addition, Mr. Garcia is an entrepreneur and serves as a business development partner to organizations spanning medical testing, solar power, online tutoring, and supply chain technology. Mr. Garcia is a graduate of the University of Illinois and has continued to invest in his community through both national and local civic, business, and nonprofit organizations. He also serves as a mentor to young professionals and students to help them succeed. On behalf of our 55,000 Southwest Airlines employees, it is my privilege to present the Maestro Award for Leadership to Mr. Demetrio Garcia. Congratulations.
Leadership is the ability to guide. With vision, ideas, and hard work, leaders inspire others. The category of leadership of the Maestro Award in Chicago 2022 is being presented to Demetrio de Garcia. He is the Vice President of Golden Hill Foods and a person who is admired and supported by his entire community. Let's see his video.
I'm a Chicago native. born and raised in Chicago. Actually, third generation on my mom's side and second generation on my dad's side. Both my parents were from Chicago, and my grandparents too were on my mom's side were from this area not too long ago, in what's called the Taylor Street area before the university. And on my father's side too, my grandmother came here almost literally 100 years ago. So our families have been here in Chicago. We were one of the first Mexican-American families over 100 years ago here in Chicago. And it was a very tight-knit family, living in the same neighborhoods, going to the same schools, just like many of the other, older immigrant groups. And, many of them were veterans. My grandfather was also a veteran of World War II. My father was in the construction business. He was an entrepreneur. My mom was an educator and a teacher. So we had various entrepreneurs and various good role models in the family that we grew, that we all grew up with. And I like to tell my kids that we kind of really didn't have any friends growing up. All we had was cousins, like almost 100 cousins, and they were our friends. And they were our mentors and even rivals sometimes. But my grandmother was also a restaurateur and an entrepreneur. So that kind of ran in our blood. She was from Monterrey, Mexico. My mother's side were from Irapuato, Guanajuato, and my father was an architect turned contractor. So I always actually wanted to be an architect, and I studied architecture. Then in 1980, when I graduated from high school, they finished the Sears Tower here in Chicago, and they were laying off architects like crazy. So I decided to study engineering. I wanted to be an engineer, and I wanted to be like an engineer, rocket scientist, and design spaceships and airplanes, all that crazy stuff. So I got into the kind of aviation engineering career. I went to university for that and did internships in that area, and then eventually wound up in working in the airline business, airline airport aviation infrastructure and engineering. But I was very determined, at a young age, early in high school. I was part of various mentorship programs. One called LIFE, L-I-F-E, that was at IIT. They had mentored young high school kids for technical careers. So I owe my career, when I look at some of the organizations that I sponsor now and I work with now, I tell them that, hey, I'm a product, like you. I'm a product of those programs and those mentoring, efforts that folks did, even though it was eons ago. I was fortunate that I was able to work in many different cities around the country. I lived and worked in many countries around the globe: Europe, Latin America, Asia, and I served on many leadership committees. I was kind of, eventually becoming a go-to, expert in my field. And the other thing that was important, in which I kind of also mentor young folks, is that in terms of career growth, in terms of your career path, I was always in the room with senior people. Like I said, so when I became a manager, that's because I was a entry-level guy that sat in the room with managers. When I became a director, that's because I was always in the room with the directors. When I became a vice president, because I was always in the room and meeting with vice presidents. And now I'm always meeting in the room with CEOs, you see? So that was kind of like by osmosis that, in terms of my own career growth. I've also considered myself, like the accidental tourist. I'm the accidental businessman. I just run into opportunities. The universe has my back in that sense, I guess. I just, run into people, and it turns out, like when I got into the food industry now, we're a company that does business with over 25 different countries. We import, we export, we have relationships around the globe too. And it was, once again, it was a friend that said, hey, I want to connect you with Dee. You should talk to Dee. And that's kind of been the story of my life too. And that's kind of how I continue to give back in my legacy. I've only applied for a job in my entire life only once, when I was in high school. I applied for a job and then got an internship. Every opportunity and every job, every career move, every business opportunity, every contract opportunity I've had is because somebody said, "Hey, you should meet D. Why don't you talk to D? Let me introduce you to my friend D here, at this meeting or something." That's been kind of the weird, connection or relationships, but that's how it's kind of all happening. Some of it's been really not, organic and not totally intentional. I'm intentional now in doing that for others. That's part of my legacy and why I serve on many boards and support many organizations. And like even during the pandemic, right? During the pandemic, one of the things I learned, was, the true value of relationships and the importance of that, and I would call people, not to say, how's business? I would say, how are you doing? How's your family? How's your mom? How's your dad? How's your kid? And that's part of, my relationship building with business partners. I know them. I know their families. I know their kids. My kids went to school with their kids. Sports or church or things like that. It's beyond business. It's true relationships, true friendships. I want to continue to kind of grow some investments and business opportunities. I see myself as basically becoming a retired investor. At that time, helping entrepreneurs, helping women organizations, women businesses and startups, especially with new technologies. I'm the first one to say I don't know anything. I'm the first one to say I have a lot to learn. And my son wants to start a business. He's all into crypto and Bitcoin and e-gaming and e-technology and things that I'm actually currently learning. So, I may help him develop that as a business line, and others. So that's where I see myself and continue to give back and serve on boards, for both national and local, and help folks with what I do best. The only thing I'm good at is basically helping others to 10x what they do in their lives.
The events of summer 2020 highlighted long-standing inequalities, particularly among the Black, Hispanic, and Latino communities, that has had a significant impact on our country. At J.P. Morgan Chase, a key goal is to help break down systemic barriers that have created profound disparities. That's why we committed $30 billion towards racial equity to provide resources and opportunity for our Black, Hispanic, and Latino communities. We are focused on the main drivers of wealth, including home ownership and small business ownership. Our commitment includes helping an additional 40,000 households become homeowners and lowering mortgage payments through refinance for 20,000 more with the help of our community home lending advisors and managers.
For us to be able to create home ownership opportunities for people that haven't had exposure in the past, it speaks to the needs of the community, and it's just something that I felt very happy to be a part of it.
We are also financing the creation and preservation of 100,000 affordable rental units. And we've developed a program to incentivize landlords to maintain affordable rents. To support entrepreneurship, we're providing an additional 15,000 loans to small businesses, as well as one-on-one mentorship and support through our senior business consultants.
Everyone is looking for the same information. Where do I go and how can I get started? The end goal is the same. How can we help educate and bring awareness to what we're doing as a firm, and most importantly, make a true impact within their homes and/or communities.
Action.
We're also increasing our spending with diverse suppliers. We're making banking more affordable for people through access to low-cost accounts and adding branches in traditionally underserved neighborhoods, building community centers in neighborhoods that need it the most, and hiring community managers to help our customers along the way.
In order for us to be successful in these communities, we will need everyone leading the charge. Home lending, small business, wealth management, we all need to get in front of our customers, get in front of the community, and help them.
As we continue supporting diverse local businesses and nonprofits, we've established a new initiative using new markets tax credit investments to spur growth and inclusion. We've invested more than $100 million in minority-owned banks across the country and are building a more equitable and representative workforce by developing a diverse talent pipeline for people at all career levels. We're committed to racial equity and helping drive inclusive growth in communities for a stronger and sustainable economy for all.
Saludos a todos. I'm Silvana Montenegro, Global Head of Advancing Hispanics and Latinos at JPMorgan Chase. I am thrilled to present this award in partnership with Latino Leaders Magazine to Rebecca O'Mara. In her over 25 years of experience, she has been a champion for diversity, serving as founder of employee resource groups at both Caterpillar and Ameritech. Rebecca most recently spearheaded leveraging AI to drive development and new sources of revenue at Stanley Industrial Services. At JPMorgan Chase, we are committed to promoting the growth and success of Hispanic and Latino communities across the globe by illuminating a pathway to education, wealth building, business growth, and community development. With our dedication to diversity, equity, and inclusion, JPMorgan Chase is proud to present this award to Rebecca O'Mara for her dedication to excellence and leadership in the Hispanic and Latino community. Congratulations again, and thank you for all you do.
Entrepreneurship is a virtue of having ideas and put them to work. This year, the category of entrepreneurship of the Maestro Award in Chicago is presented to Rebecca Martinez O'Mara. She is the president of Industrial Services for Stanley Black & Decker. Let's see her story.
My family came from Mexico, from northern Mexico. My father was from Monterrey. My mother was from, her family's from Saltillo, and made their way here to the U.S. First of all, I was born and raised in Chicago. I sort of think of Chicago as a really scrappy town. You know, it's a place where, you know, if you're young, scrappy, and hungry, sort of, is a place you can thrive if you have those qualities. Growing up in a Latino family as a female, it was not always easy to get attention. I think there's much more focus on, and investment even sometimes from an education standpoint, in the boys. So to stand out, I realized early on that achieving in school was a way to really be noticed and maybe even catch my dreams someday. I think going to college was probably a first major decision. I remember, I mentioned my mother worked at Lawndale Bank, and I think that luck is important, and I had some luck in the sense that because she worked there, she helped me get a job in a time when jobs were hard to find. So I started there as a bank teller, and I met other young people who were going to college. And so when I was graduating from high school, one of my colleagues said, where are you gonna go to school? And she said, why don't you come to UIC, which is the University of Illinois at Chicago? And so that's what I did. And I think it was, you know, a major decision. I remember when I first got there thinking, well, this will last maybe a quarter or two because I'm not sure I'm cut out for it, but I managed to hang on. So mid-career, I would say that running a P&L, a profit and loss, was a really important job and not an easy one to get. And so I made it my mission to really find a role that I could run a business or a piece of a business within a larger company. And so I got that opportunity, and it wasn't very easy because there's not a lot of women, let alone Latinas, that, you know, the analogy I use is where someone wants to hand you their car keys, right? Especially if you haven't driven the car before and it's a Ferrari, okay? So for me, I managed to find that mentor, boss, that was willing to give me a chance. And he, you know, gave me the keys to the car. And that was when I was working in private equity for a company called Solaire. And it was my first experience. And it gave me confidence. I was able to learn how to look at your daily sales and look at your trends, and also having an HR responsibilities and finance and so forth, just the whole sort of little universe of a business. What I see in my future is to share all of the experiences, insights, and knowledge that I've obtained over many decades to share with others. So I do mentor a large number of people, men, women, Latinos, non-Latinos, and that's important work. I will prioritize a phone call with someone who wants advice above other things, because I think that there has to be a reason that all of these fortunate things have happened for me. All of the schools I've gone to, the great companies I've worked for. And I think the reason is to share it with others and help them turn around, reach out a hand, and help the next person up. So that's from a mentorship standpoint. And then from a board perspective, I would say, you know, I am looking to add additional boards, and I would like to grow more. I'm a lifelong learner, and I think that I'm learning a lot in a board role, very new to me. So where I've always been very hands-on and running, like I said earlier, the P&L day to day, this is much more of a stewardship approach that you need to take. So that is something I want to grow in as well. I find that my family is the most important thing, and I know you hear that all the time. People say that all the time, but it really is. I think all of us, you know that deep down. That's what really matters. And so I get to hang out with, you know, my mother's still with us. My father passed 8 years ago. But we still get together here in my kitchen as a family. My brother will stop on 26th Street and get, you know, barbacoa and carnitas, and, you know, we have a nice Sunday and watch some sports, and that's a relaxing time. My daughter, I have one daughter, she lives in Finland, and I'm getting on a plane tomorrow to go visit her. She went there to do a master's degree and then stayed because she really loves it. And so traveling to see her and waiting for her to come and see mom is a big part of my life. And I am a singer. I'm a piano player and a singer. So I've never met a microphone that I didn't like. When my daughter was a little girl, we'd go to this restaurant, Lalo's, here in the neighborhood, and she'd say, "Mom, please, don't sing with the mariachis. Don't sing with the mariachis." But I always had to sing with the mariachis, so. But I only know a couple of mariachi songs. But I sing like other, you know, pop and rock, and so I love it. And I started playing the piano when I turned 50. So it's a passion I always wanted to play, and I've stuck to it. I haven't given up, and I can play probably 10 songs or more. My teacher would say more, but so. Well, for me, I think, again, none of this has been super easy, right? And that's the journey. We're all in the climb. We're all climbing, right? And we each have our own climb. You just have to hope you're climbing the right hill. You have to hope you're on the right mountain, so that's the first thing. I think you have to do what you love. I think you definitely need to find that thing, whether it was Michelangelo doing a sculpture or whomever, you have to do things you love. And so that would be my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice, I think, is to continue to pursue no matter what the bumps in the road are, any setbacks, you have to be able to pick yourself up and dust yourself off. Don't look back, you're not going that way. Just keep going.
San Agustin has been transforming the lives of students and promoting Latino leaders for over 40 years. As the presence and the needs of Latinos continue to grow, we are also growing to meet those needs. San Agustin is well on its way to become a university. We are transforming every area of our institution by enhancing our service, our programs, and our influence in the education community. I want to ask you to join me in congratulating the many leaders in our community, especially women who are often underrepresented. I also want to ask you to join me in creating the first Latino university in our country.
The academic approach of San Agustin College goes in three directions: high touch, high tech, and high support, which means that any student that is coming to this institution will receive a family-oriented education.
The academic programs at St. Augustine College are devoted to student success. They are aimed at changing a student's career path, enabling them to get a better job and earn more money for their family.
St. Augustine College is very diversified and inclusive. We embrace all students and help them every step of the way.
My name is Mary Luna Yola, and I am a graduate of St. Augustine College. When I arrived to this country, I did not speak English. My goal was to earn an associate degree, but as my confidence grew, I decided to continue and ended up with bachelor degrees in business administration and accounting. All of these I owe to the great education and support I received at St. Augustine College.
At St. Augustine, all we ask our students for is a strong desire to succeed. If they got that, we will do the rest.
Buenas noches, good evening. My name is Reyes Gonzalez. It is a pleasure to join you today to honor the leaders in our community and to continue the strong partnership between St. Augustine College and Latino Leaders Magazine. We share the mission of developing, promoting, and recognizing the leaders of the future, as we are doing here today. For over 40 years, St. Augustine College has served as the bridge to a better future for thousands of Latinos who have graduated and found success in life, who have made an impact at all levels of society, and who have made us very proud. And now I am truly honored to present this video, which is a story of perseverance, inspiration, and leadership. It is a story of someone who has risen to the levels of success once seen as unattainable. Someone who came from a family of farm workers and now is a trailblazer in the investment world, and who is also helping others in the field. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in seeing a video of Samara Mejia Hernandez, recipient of the Maestro of Ultimate Drive and Innovation Award.
Innovation, the art of creating the future, a great virtue of leaders. This year, the category of innovation for the Maestro Award in Chicago, it's being presented to Samara Mejia Hernandez, the founding partner of Chingona Ventures. Let's see her video.
So my story starts in Mexico. I was born in Cuernavaca, which is an hour south of Mexico City, give or take without traffic. And we came to the US because my grandma was sick. So she had come here with my grandfather. He was a migrant farm worker, and in the 70s, they ended up coming here. So she was very ill, and my family ended up coming to see her because she didn't have much to live, and she ended up living a little bit longer than we expected. So that's why we moved here. We moved to Rogers Park here in Chicago, and then we ended up moving out to the suburbs where my parents found a job at a country club. So they were busboys and maids. We lived the traditional kind of immigrant story that you see a lot. My parents worked 2-3 jobs at a time, worked hard to get us into school and to survive, basically. And so I spent a lot of time at home with my sister. And so I was in ESL until 5th grade, but I picked up math quicker than I picked up English. So my older sister always wanted to be a teacher, and so she would come home and teach me what she learned in math. She's 3 years older than me. So I picked up math a lot quicker than I picked up English, and eventually was looking to see what I was going to do after high school. I wanted to be a hairstylist because I worked at a hair salon, but my sister said, you know, you are really good at math and science, you should try engineering. My teacher told me that would be a good career. So that's what led me to study engineering at the University of Michigan. And I went to the University of Michigan because I loved football. And so they had the biggest, big stadium. It was just so happened to be the #2 program in the country for what I was studying, but I was interested in, football, engineering, and then said if engineering doesn't work out, I can do a couple other things that Michigan is known for. So when I graduated, I started it at Goldman Sachs, which is one of the best financial institutions, but I didn't know it at the time. I met them through a conference for the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, and they're like, hey, we need more engineers in finance. Why don't you come work with us? So I did 2 internships, and then I started full-time there. And I started right before the beginning of the last financial crisis. The early part of my career was unintentional. I didn't see it at home. I didn't see entrepreneurs. I didn't see my parents in finance. I didn't see anybody that looked like me in those roles. It was all unintentional, or someone actually told me, hey, you should do this. So for instance, I went to Michigan and studied engineering because my sister told me, hey, you could probably be an engineer. If I would have known the amount of, the number of women in engineering, the number of Latinas in engineering, how hard it was, I probably would not have done it. But it was literally someone just saying, hey, I think you can do this. And I said, okay, well, I like math, I like numbers, so why not? And then I can graduate and start my own hair salon. And when I was at Michigan, Goldman Sachs was at a conference, and there was a guy named Matthew Wells who approached me, and he said, hey, what are you doing? What are you here for? What are you interested in? And I said, oh, I'm not sure. I'm looking for a couple, different opportunities. He said, well, did you ever think about Wall Street? I said, no, I didn't. And so he's like, well, why don't you apply? I think, your background sounds interesting, and this could be a good career for you. So I had no idea what Goldman Sachs was. I had no idea that I could be on Wall Street, but it was somebody looking at me and saying, you have potential. Maybe your background doesn't say it's the right fit, but someone looked at me and helped me explore that opportunity, which I'm always grateful for, and I hope to do for others as well. When I started in venture capital, if you would have told me, oh, you're going to run your own firm in 6 years, I would have just laughed. Or like, no way. I was just happy to sit at a desk and have a job and talk to founders. And as I started my career in venture capital, I would see the certain types of founders getting funded, certain types of industry. It was very relationship based, very network based. Founders with Ivy League educations from big tech firms would often get funded very quickly. And then I would see founders that had an idea, had a product, had traction, that couldn't raise any venture funding. And I was just confused why that was the case. I would advise them, I would host office hours. But I realized they don't need any more advice. They need capital to really grow and scale their businesses. And they were starting businesses and catering to some of the fastest growing demographics in the United States. So first and foremost, I saw this as an investable opportunity. And some of these investors who didn't come from these backgrounds, who didn't understand these demographics, I saw them just pass because they didn't understand it, they weren't interested, biased, whatever it was. And so I just set out to say, okay, well, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but this needs to exist. And so, again, talked to my now husband at the time, who was like, hey, you know, we're going to do this together. You're going to have to support me for 2 years, or we're just going to have one income, but I'm going to go off and figure out if I can do this. And that was another risk point in my life. I was fortunate that I was able to meet the chief investment officer at the time for the Illinois Growth and Innovation Fund, and Rodrigo Garcia, also Latino, and he was looking to invest in a strategy like this. So we spoke, we did a lot of work. It was the first time that they would have been invested in a fund like mine, and I was fortunate that they were my first investors in the fund. And so through that, I was able to launch my own fund. I was able to invest in 27 companies. 80% of the CEOs that I invest with are African American or Latino, which I'm very proud of. I hire all chingonas on my team. Chingona means badass woman in Spanish, from Mexico. And you know, it was a name I chose because, one, there's no venture firm that has this name. It was something that I was trying to build. I think it's pretty chingona to do. And it was a nod to my Mexican culture. It was a nod to the founders that I'm backing that are doing these incredible things with all these obstacles that they have to face on top of just being a regular founder. And so that's why I started the firm, and that's why I named the firm Chingona Ventures. Right now, we're a small team, but we punch above our weight class, and we try to build a presence in the ecosystem to be able to get founders to come to us, to be able to have co-investors that send us deals, and to be able to proactively source companies. And so we invest all over the United States. We have a process that allows anybody to come to us. So normally there's warm intros needed for venture capital. We have the same process, whether a warm intro sends it to us or a cold intro. We have a process on our website. Anybody can apply. You can see our entire process and what we look for and what we'll ask. And we see about anywhere from 1,500 to 3,000 deals a year, sometimes 100 deals a day. And so it's a lot for us to kind of go through, but we want to make sure that every application that we see, we review it. We say yes or no very quickly. We're very transparent with founders, which, interestingly enough, is a low bar in venture capital to have a good experience with a venture capitalist, but especially the founders that we're looking at that many times don't have a network, don't come from Ivy League schools. We look to make sure that they understand that we're here and that we want to look at their business and we want to have the opportunity to invest in them. You know, and more personally, yes, I have a 3-year-old son right now who is the light of my life, who humbles me every single day. And I want to show him that, be a good role model for him, and to show him that he can hopefully continue what we've started, and in whatever way he can, to first and foremost be happy. My dad always said, as long as you're happy, do whatever you need to do. And so have him continue to be a representation of what it is to be a Latino in the United States, and be successful in his own way, and be happy, and fight and have a voice for people that don't have a voice.
Professional achievement. When you achieve excellence in your profession and in what you do, something really difficult to achieve. The category of professional achievement this year in the Chicago Maestro Award is being presented to Alicia Ponce, founder of AP Monarch Architecture. Let's see her video.
I was born and raised in the southwest side of Chicago. It's actually a suburb right on the edge of the city of Chicago, which is called Summit, Illinois. And my family has been there. My grandfather came from Mexico, Morelia, Michoacan. And that's where he came in the 60s, you know, when he brought the family over, my mother's family. And then my father, you know, followed soon after. And all of my family grew up in Summit, Illinois. And so I grew up in a suburb that was kind of like the city, but predominantly immigrant families. Actually, when I was younger, it was more of the Polish community, Polish immigrants. But then as I grew up, you started to see that white flight, right? A lot of more Mexican families, and then more, you know, that's just the way that the neighborhood evolved. Growing up, my parents were, you know, working class, working in all sorts of factories. But we grew up happy, you know, maybe we didn't have much means, but we grew up happy and nunca nos faltó nada, right? So we were happy. And we grew up going to Morelia or Lagunitas, Michoacan, every summer, almost every summer. And so that's where I spent all of my summers, in the mountainous, you know, landscapes of Morelia. And that's where my connection to nature was fostered. You know, I didn't know it at the time, but you know, as soon as we got there, they said, "Okay, go play and come back to eat." But I spent my time just, you know, wandering around in nature. And it was also that experience that I came across my first construction site. And I was little. I was about 6 years old, and I didn't know what it was, what I was looking at, but I was fascinated by what I saw. And if you could close your eyes, you could smell the freshly poured concrete, you know, and I just can close my eyes and smell it now. And that's what I was fascinated with. And that idea never went away. Connection with nature, and then this construction, you know, whatever this was, I wanted to do that. My first 10 years of working at firms, I always wanted to do more, and specifically in the space of sustainability. This is, again, my connection to nature. When I first started working at a firm, I said, I don't know what I got myself into, because I'm harming the environment. We're building on green land, we're creating all of this trash and, you know, all of this energy, and I just felt bad. And I said, what am I gonna do, you know? And that was in the late 90s. In the late 90s, that's when I came across an article that was about green building, you know, building responsibly, efficiently, and architecture that was good for the environment. And I just, you know, had a sigh of relief and said, okay, I can do this. This is innovation, and I'm here for good. And so throughout my journey of working at firms, I really wanted to work on this type of architecture. And this is where the lack of representation and mentorship in the field of architecture is for women and for women of color. It is just not there. It was simply just not there. Maybe I didn't realize it, but I kept raising my hand, I kept volunteering, and, you know, really sharing my interest for this type of work, and it didn't come. Maybe my my bosses didn't realize it, or I don't know, but there was no one there to mentor me, mentor my interests. There wasn't really anyone pushing me to get my license, the architectural license. So I don't know how much advancement I would have gotten had I not started my own business. And so I didn't plan it, but I started switching firms. In 2007, I was laid off, and the economic downturn was about to happen. I didn't know, And the only thing I knew is I said, well, I'm gonna start my business right then and there. I didn't plan it, but I said, I wanna do sustainable architecture. I don't see any mentors. I wanna get my license, and I don't have any responsibilities, so what better time than now? So that's how I got my start, and that's how I started AP Monarch. The name comes from, AP is my initials, Alicia Ponce, or architecture and planning, and Monarch, the monarch butterfly. So the monarch butterfly is very important to our culture, especially where my family is from, Morelia, because this is where the monarch butterfly migrates to and from Canada, to that specific place in Morelia, in Michoacan. So it's just it's the state symbol. And the monarch butterfly also represents a healthy environment. When you see a monarch butterfly, you know that something good is happening. There's healthy air, there's good water, and you want to be there, right? And so that's what my type of architecture, the AP Monarch architecture, does. We design healthy environments. You know that we are the pollinators of the built environment. We are building healthy architecture for people and for the environment. So that's where that comes from. And the more and more we get into this space of sustainability, we start to question things as far as green building. Green building for who? Green building is not always equitable. Why is it green always in that zip code and not in this zip code, right? So we look at equity. And so the monarch butterfly is free. There are no borders. The monarch butterfly can float anywhere it desires, right? Or any butterfly. And who doesn't smile when they see a butterfly, young or old? It's really opening doors for more Latinas in architecture, for women in architecture, for women of color. And I feel pretty happy right now with what's happening, because it's a movement that so many women, without a doubt, they immediately say, yes, I'm in, I'm committed, let's move that needle. And we're already helping, these women believe in themselves and take away imposter syndrome so that they can continue on this career that they chose as a little girl or in high school and college, that they can do it, that there's no reason why they can't. Here are the resources. So the advocacy work is really important for me, and I think that I've done that, and I'm really happy, because it's going in such a great direction. And as a small business owner, female, women of color business owner, there are their own challenges. And so I like to advocate for us as well to open doors. I like to use my personal experience so that the next person after me, their journey, their hurdles are less, and they get there a little bit faster. And so I'm pretty happy with that. I'm a mother of 2 children, Emilio, who's 10, and Paz, who's 9. She will be turning 9. And I'm married, and very close to my family. And once I'm done, I don't know if I ever take the AP Monarch hat off, but I have to put the mommy hat on, or I don't take them off, But there's always a lot of fun that we have, drawing, taking vacations. My daughter loves art. She's a really great artist, and my son is all about math. he already told me, he's like, Mommy, give me 14 years and I will be your structural engineer. So I said, okay, make it 10. But yeah, we're, you know, as in my family, we like to be together, and we just we have a lot of fun.
Thank you for being with us. This has been the Chicago Maestro Awards of 2022. Great collection of leaders to celebrate. Great stories, inspirational for all of us to keep doing what we are doing to advance our community. I want to thank our sponsors, St. Augustine College, Southwest Airlines, and JP Morgan Chase. All of them, their support is key to keep doing our mission of celebrating the leaders. Thank you again, and good evening.